Hello, everyone, and welcome to the RMTV Women's Podcast. This is episode 118, and today me and Amy are joined by our friend Nancy Baker. Nancy, welcome to the podcast.
Hi,
This is
you're
your
right.
first time on, if we can believe it, which is a bit
I
mad.
know, I think me and Amy tried to get me on before, but I was away, obviously,
Yeah,
pre-COVID,
yeah,
disclaimer. And my
yeah,
internet was awful, so I was like, I can't do it.
yeah. I know. Do you want to just like a little bit of an intro, like talk about She's a Ballin' or any other projects that you've got going on at the minute? Let people know
Yes,
what you're up to.
so I ran a page called She's a Baller, which ultimately is shining a light on women's football and is aiming to inspire young girls and current footballers to show them that the women's game is something that you want to be a part of and hopefully boost it and get more followers and more people enjoying the sport. I've been doing that for just under 2 years now, which I absolutely love. I started doing that straight out of university as well. So literally like jumped out of university into a role working in women's football, well, a part-time role, which is incredible. And then I also do bits and bobs in and around women's football, like coaching, playing, etc., a bit of everything. And most recently, I've started up my own community interest company, which is a not for profit company which provides free football sessions and workshops for young females aged 13 to 16 within West London, and giving them opportunities and a space to play football freely and create a space where they can play, make new friends, develop as young people, empower them as young females, and everything that we do is for free, which is incredible. So it means that it's accessible to everyone and there's no limit in terms of being able to afford it or to access it.
That's
Wow.
awesome. Is that
Yeah.
going on still due to COVID and everything? Has it been quite
Yeah, so
difficult?
I'm really lucky because I've partnered with the Dalgano Trust, which is actually the old youth club that I used to attend in my local area. And we have partnered up, and because of what they do and how they support the community and work within the community with young people, adults, literally everyone within our community, I'm able to run the sessions as support bubble sessions. So for young vulnerable individuals who may need it or who may need an escape or may need that time to just get away and be able to actually be young people with what's going on in the current situation. So yeah, I'm really blessed to be able to run the sessions. They run on a Monday for 2 hours and we do some football activities, and then we also do workshops. So it's incredible, and I'm so lucky that I've actually been able to start running them with the pandemic and the support that I've had as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that would have been the worst thing possible, like not being able to do any of that stuff, like continue that, but it's good that I can still go on. We've got a couple of topics to discuss today. Obviously, Liverpool is always a main talking point on our podcast.
Obviously.
Obviously, yeah.
It's in the name.
It's in the name, it's in the channel. Yeah, just quickly, obviously, we had a friendly against Durham on Sunday. Lost 2-0 there, which isn't exactly ideal, is what we wanted to hear. I think there was just like a mixture of players just getting game time and stuff like that. But obviously the big talking point for Liverpool at the minute is that we don't have a manager in place. Obviously applications are open. The club has given a little bit of an update on what's going on there, but it's interesting to have you on, Nancy, because it's sort of like an outsider's perspective looking in on the situation. Obviously we've given our opinion multiple times over the last couple of weeks on the current situation, but it'd be interesting just to see what you think of the current situation, obviously for he leaving and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, so I was sorry, my throat was a bit like so yeah, as I was saying, I was really surprised that Vicky left Liverpool. I know she's been there for, mistake me if I'm wrong, around 12 years throughout different categories within the women's setup and the Liverpool setup, which is an incredible achievement. And to work your way up to the women's team is ultimately a bit of a dream and something that maybe she was aspiring to do that and she did it, which is incredible. But yeah, I was really surprised to see that she left by mutual consent with the club. I was also very shocked at the timing of her leaving. So I mentioned this, and I've mentioned it a few times, that I found she left after January and there had been one game, if I'm not mistaken. one game played, I would have assumed and thought it would have been a better timing. Obviously, not probably for her. No timing's great for her, but a better timing to mutual consent, leave your position before Christmas, which would have enabled Liverpool women to have time to, over the Christmas period, maybe get someone in place or get someone who's going to step in a bit quicker or have an idea of who they want to get in. I was also quite shocked that they didn't have someone in mind to step in or someone to offer the role to. I think what I personally find is that most times you see someone coming out of a role, let's say, for example, Karen and Yuan, who was at Spurs, they had someone in Rhian Skinner who came in quite quickly, and it was evident that she was very much the front runner for that role, and she slipped into it very quickly, and the transition was very quick, and you didn't really feel the gap of them not having a manager, whereas at Liverpool you've really felt the gap, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, we still are.
Yeah, you're still, that's what I mean, you're still in limbo, so you feel the gap if yeah
100%. I think, like, in most circumstances, obviously we don't know what's gone on. Obviously it's mutual consent, you don't know what's happened, never probably will know exactly the ins and outs of the situation, it's just the way that it works. But you would have thought to cause, especially in a season that means this much and has this much riding on it, it was just really strange timing for one, but then you also would want to kind of cover your back as much as possible. Like, if you are wanting to get rid of a manager or whatever the circumstances that it's been, 9 times out of 10 you're going to have a replacement, and you're at least going to have your eye on someone. But the interesting thing, what's kind of come out for it over the last few weeks, is that sort of spec of the job hadn't been released until, I think, was it last week or the week before, so that's a long period of time between sacking the manager a couple of weeks into the first week of January.
I even saw it on LinkedIn yesterday. Sorry to cut you off. I literally saw
it's really strange. And then maybe
it might be a sign for me to shoot my shot. Like,
it might, I think you should go for it. I think you should go for it. I think at this point, anything can happen. We never know. But even the deadline for the applications doesn't close until, is it the 12th of Feb?
The 12th, I think so, yeah.
So you're looking at still, obviously, interview process needs to happen after that application deadline is closed. You're looking still at potentially another month without a manager, which just sounds absolutely bizarre.
It's essentially 2 months without a fixed manager, isn't it? Which, when you put it into perspective, I didn't actually realise it was that long. And I think it goes back to the point I made earlier, that you will really feel the gap, because the time span is so long, which, again, let me use Spurs for reference, just it's probably one of the fresher ones. The gap was filled so quickly. You didn't feel the at first when it happened, you was like, oh, they've left, who's going to come in, I think it was a short amount of time, switch happened, bam, you got Rhian Skinner. With Liverpool, it's okay, we've just processed that. It shuts on the application shuts on the 12th, you have to process, then you have to bring someone in, so it could be nearly 2 months, which is in a pivotal season for a club like Liverpool. I think that's
the main thing, right? Isn't the actual what this season was supposed to be, and like the importance of it. To then, obviously, I think anyone looking in, it would make more sense if Jepson had stayed until at least the end of the season, and then whatever came out of that, whether we got promoted, whether we didn't, I think that's a different conversation. But in terms of, like, even players themselves, how can they then switch their attention to fully focus on getting promotion when there's this giant elephant in the room that they are playing under an interim manager, basically? It's just like, I feel like I could laugh while I'm saying it because it's just that crazy.
I think as well, as you said, like, being under an interim manager, again, I know I'm going to fixate on a time scale, but you've gone from Vicky, who has her coaching and playing style, which the girls would ultimately have adapted to and very clearly understand their roles and what they're doing, I'd like to think. Then you have the interim manager who, again, football's down to opinion, so it's very much that interim manager may now say, this is how we're going to play, this is what we're going to do. They're going to have to, if that is the case, they will do that for, let's say, the 2 months. Again, players adapting, changing, having to mentally regroup in terms of the understanding and then physically putting it together. And then the new manager comes in, again, game of opinion. So you've got a new manager coming in, a new manager changing the way to play, maybe changing positions, having to build connections, having to have the players adapt to what they got to do again. So that's 3 different sets of adaptations. Well, 2 different sets, because they would have probably been used to Vicky. 2 different sets of adaptations in, again, a pivotal season. So how does this impact the girls themselves as players? Because for me, I know that I as a player, I love being able to connect and understand and be on the same wave as my manager, but that doesn't happen straight away in some cases.
Yeah, and plus, like, when a new manager does come in, you're talking probably only like maybe 3 games in charge if it happens before the end of the season. So like you're saying, it's not enough time to sort of say, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion, if you're gonna wait that long to get a manager in, let's say it's March that they come in, you might as well wait until the summer and just basically start a whole fresh from pre-season, rather than sort of bring someone in, expect them to do something with like 3 games, and then have a time period where, you know, you might as well let them come in, know who they want to sign, if they want to sign players, know what they want to do with the team, whether, you know, whatever league we're in or whatnot. That just makes more sense to me, rather than trying to get someone in quickly to try and just plug the hole for a minute to then go, yeah, do what you want then in the summer. You might as well just start a complete new fresh, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, it's such a difficult one, because you made such a great point there about there being that pressure in maybe 3 or 4 games. Are they actually going to be able to turn anything around in such a short period of time? Maybe it would have been best to see out the season and have that backup plan come in. Sorry, not that backup plan. That plan come into play, but have a longer time schedule to really perfect it and know what the new manager is going to do. For me, I just think it's a bit of an upset in terms of, again, going back to the players. I think the players are the most important aspect in this. Ultimately, I think it's a lot of mismatch for them, because the adapting, knowing what's going on, having to be able to be like, okay, now I've got to do this, or now I've got to do this. This is who I'm with. This is who we've got. This is how it's going to be. But yeah, I think it will be very difficult for the girls. Not saying they can't adapt and they're not able to, just the appointment of change for anyone, I'd assume you have to be able to process.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of managers, we'll stay on course with that. A story that was...
That's a lovely little link then. I really
appreciate so smooth.
I mean, it would have been smoother if you didn't say that was a lovely link, but we'll ignore it.
I just wanted to show my appreciation.
Anyways,
continue.
I appreciate it. A story that broke yesterday was Emma Hayes has been rumoured to be within consideration for the AFC Wimbledon job. This is obviously the men's team in League One, I think they're in. Obviously, seeing it, you're like, oh, nice. That's a good little like link. But then also, I'm thinking, absolutely not. Like, why?
Not a chance.
Why? Like, no disrespect to Wimbledon, but like, why would Emma Hayes leave Chelsea, Women's Super League, you know, best team probably in the league, and go and sort of try a hand at men's League One side? It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know whether you both feel the same about it.
Amy, do you want to go first?
I will happily go first. It's just bizarre. Like, I think if anyone, I think like us three, when we look at Chelsea, I think there's a massive long-term project going on, and I can't see that. And it's basically built around Emma Hayes. She's built this sort of Chelsea empire at the moment, which is just bringing in all these top-class players, and she's probably a massive part of bringing in the likes of Pernille Harder, etc. And it looks like there is like a massive push to be a project rather than just, I'm going to just see it out to the end of this contract and then I'm going to move on. It seems like Emma Hayes is Chelsea's long-term manager. Now, I hope that doesn't come to bite me in the bum in a few years' time. But I think on one hand, it would be absolutely amazing to see such a strong female character manage a men's team quite obviously high up in the footballing pyramid. But I just think with the security she has at Chelsea, I just couldn't see her leaving that. Nor would I really want to. I think she's such an asset to the women's game. Some of the things that she stands up for, I think it is absolutely incredible, and not a lot of managers tend to do that. So she's such a vocal point for the women's game. So if she did leave, I think we'd miss her on that front. But equally, I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, before I get into the topic of it, like for me personally, I've been at like press conferences, or I've been at stadiums, I've been XYZ, and Emma Hayes is one manager that I will always ensure, if I'm there, I listen to and I pick up on what she's saying. I could genuinely listen to her talk for however long she's talking for and lap it all up and really feel, when she speaks, I feel empowered. I genuinely do. And that's as someone who works in the women's game. I don't essentially have any connection with her in terms of knowing her or being involved with her on a regular basis in terms of like a player or her coaching team, etc. But she's someone who, if I was given the opportunity to work alongside or shadow, Emma Hayes would be my first choice out of every single person, every single manager, regardless of male, female, where they are. She'd always be my first option. And that's just me on a personal level of how much I respect her as an individual, and the things I've been told about her in terms of how incredible she is, it just empowers me to want to be better, even when I just listen to what she's saying. I think she's, as I said, incredible. I can't say it more than I have. Secondly, when I saw this yesterday, I actually sat on it for a while in terms of what I wanted to put out. So I put out a tweet, and the tweet reads something along the lines of, not that I think it will happen, but I'm just going to throw it out there. If Emma Hayes was to leave the women's game, I would be absolutely gutted, to say the least. And then I finished it with, thanks for attending my TED Talk, because it's great.
Brilliant.
But that is genuinely my feel. If I would personally, again, no connection to her, no, like nothing that would really essentially make me feel this of terms of like being her friend or anything like that, but I just respect what she does. So if she was to leave the women's game, I would be absolutely gutted. I think it would be a tremendous loss for the women's game, because for me, she is the best. And I don't think, and I hope, again, I hope this doesn't come to bite me as well, but I don't see her leaving. I think what she's doing at Chelsea, the love she has for Chelsea, the respect she's got at Chelsea, not just through the players, but the supporters of the women's game, the media in the women's game, everyone at Chelsea and in and around, again, you can say at AFC Wimbledon, because they're potentially linking her to giving her an opportunity or considering her. If I'm being honest, I don't feel like she needs to be considered. If she could walk into it, to any job in any role, in my personal opinion, in a football club, and she do an amazing job. This is just as I say, it's my personal opinion, and I'm more than happy for people to argue it, but from my own knowledge and my own experience and what I've heard, and that's not just through people who work in the game, but people who work alongside her or play under her, everyone just says how incredible she is. So yeah. I think she could walk into any role and do an amazing job. But as you said, Amy, I think that she has a long-term plan at Chelsea, and a plan that is going to take Chelsea to the top. Again, I thought about this last night when I saw the tweets come out. She, I believe, will take Chelsea to the top. I don't see anyone more fit to do it. And I love her being at Chelsea, even when the opportunity or the rumours came up about her potentially going for England or going for the Lionesses, or going for Team GB. As much as she'd, again, smash it, I'd want her at Chelsea. And I think it's just a match made in heaven in terms of what she's doing, what she can do, what she will do, and where she's going to take the team. I can't see her at this moment in time. I can't, and I won't see her anywhere else. So hopefully she does stay. And in my heart of hearts, I genuinely believe that she will, because it's the work she's doing and the connection and everything she's doing there is incredible. And it's not just her, it's obviously her with the team and her back staff team and Chelsea supporting that. So I think she'll be there for a while, and I hope to see that.
Yeah, I think, like you said, she's had like other opportunities, or like the whole England stuff as well. I think if she was going to go anywhere but Chelsea, I think England would be the next one for her.
Yeah.
But obviously that time's, been and gone type of thing. Obviously it doesn't mean it's not going to happen in the future, but it's interesting the first point you made when you're like, whenever she speaks, if whether it's a press conference or whatever, you're so like engrossed in what she's saying. Because I remember when we played Chelsea at Prenton, the 1-1 game where the pitch was absolutely awful, like just before Christmas, and she came down to do like media, and I think there was like us two and only like 2 other people there. It was literally the last game before Christmas. And we weren't getting like any. I think we just finished with Jepson, so we just missed like the first part of the media stuff, and we were just like so like engrossed in what she was saying. We were just like staring at her. I was like, if she looked
just so
over,
knowledgeable, like you just know she knows what she's saying. Like there's no question in her.
Yeah.
If she speaks, you listen. That is it.
Yeah. Like I got invited to the Conti Cup press conference. So the last year's one against Arsenal, where they won, and I was just listening to her answer all the questions, and then I was like, I need to ask her a question just because I need to. I can't remember what I asked, but I feel like it was a good question, and she answered it, and I was just like, wow. Like I just I sound like such. I can literally feel it. I sound like such a fangirl, but I just really respect everything she does. And it's not me being a fan or being like, oh my God. It's just, I see and I know all the work she puts in, how respected she is. I understand what she's saying and how she's saying it. And yeah, she's
just a great role model as well, isn't she?
Yeah, exactly. Like if I'm being honest, I don't really have role models. Like that I look up to, honestly, no offense to anyone, but I just don't.
Oh God, I'm not your role model.
But like the sort of people that I look up to, like I look up to my nan and my family and my mum. Do you know what I mean? Like they're the ones that inspire me to be better. But when I listen to Emma Hayes or when I see her working, I look at her as a female and I think, I really respect what you're doing. Like you're great, and I'm so glad you're present and someone that I can look at and research, or just be able to say, you're doing a great job, like thank you.
Absolutely.
She's done so much for the women's game, hasn't she, as well? Really absolute massive effort in all that she's sort of contributed. She probably influences a lot of managers up and coming as well, and I think she's a great person for them to sort of look up to, just the way she like manages situations. Even if things haven't necessarily gone her way, she has a way about doing it that's it's like proper and quite, but genuine at the same time. So like she will definitely, she's been one of them that's never been afraid to sort of step out and say something slightly controversial or disagree with something so publicly. I think there was one thing when she disagreed with someone when after the World Cup, that was that whole thing about women's goalposts should be made smaller. She came out and said stuff about, I think that would, I don't know whether I can't remember if she agreed with it or disagreed with it, but either way she came out and publicly said something and sort of was at the forefront of that. So she's not afraid to sort of say what she feels, and it's quite refreshing sometimes with football because it can be a bit samey, but she's always been quite fresh and relevant with what point she sort of brought to the table as well, which I think is a great like asset to have.
Yeah, I think again with what you just said, I can go back to my experiences of listening to her in like press conferences. Like if you ask her a question, she won't beat around the bush. She will tell you what she wants to tell you, and she'll say it how she wants to say it. And I think that comes with, again, that's why I have so much respect for her, because she says what she wants to say and she's not afraid to say it. And again, that's empowering for people. And imagine how much respect I have for her, and I don't work for her, and all the other people that respect her. Imagine how much respect her players and her staff have for her, working with her every day. And it's not only them respecting her, it's her respecting them. Like, she talks about how much she values her team and how much she values everyone at Chelsea and everything at Chelsea. And how can something like that not make you want to be even better and work even harder? Like, how can something like that not empower you to be the best that you can when you've got that around you?
100%.
Absolutely. This is now a Emma Hayes fan podcast rather than a win. just gonna us three every week just talking
We'll
about
get the
how
foam
much
fingers out with Emma Hayes written on them.
yeah.
But yeah, like I know I do sound like a fan, but I have so much respect for her, and it's really rare for me to really connect to someone and be like, I really respect what they're doing on all parts. And yeah, just shout out to Emma Hayes.
What a legend.
Subscribe if you're watching. We'll move away from managers and we'll talk about some players. And obviously transfer window finished on, I want to say, Friday. Some big names came into the WSL. I think Abby Dahlkemper was the one for me in the entire window where I was just like, oh my god. Like, I don't think
Hello.
I still haven't quite wrapped my head around like Sam Mewis, Rose Lavelle, Tobin Heath, Kristen Press, like Alex Morgan was here for a bit. And then like Abby Dahlkemper was like, yeah, I want to join in on that as well. And it's just like, oh my gosh, like absolute like stars just playing like over in our league is amazing. But is there anyone else that you sort of looked at, whether they left a WSL team or championship team and went abroad, or someone who's come over here and you've just thought, wow, that's going to be a really huge shining for that team or that player?
I think obviously the signing that you said, like I watched her in the USA Colombia game, I want to say, because they had a couple of friendlies, so I kept my eye out for her when she was playing, just so I could like really be like, oh, this is what she does, this is how she's doing it. She was quite a standout player, especially when you're looking out for someone. I feel like they stand out a bit more because you're directly looking out for them. I think she'd be great for Man City. Man City, in terms of caliber, they have some really, really incredible players. Like, I know we're talking about the current transfer window, but for me personally, one of the best signings that City have made is Alex Greenwood. I'm going to throw it out there, and I 100% stand by it. I will happily have anyone question me on it, because
I'll take anyone on.
I'll take anyone on. No, but seriously, I've been watching her. I think she's come back from Lyon, and she is having an incredible season. She's an adaptable player. You've seen she's changing. Well, she's not personally, but she's having to adapt and change where she's playing due to what her manager's asking her to do. Her ability to hold off players, to ping balls in, to get up the pitch. I think Alex has been a standout player for me in this WSL season. And as I said, I know it's a signing that happened earlier in the season, but that's something I wanted to highlight. I saw today that Anna Philby has gone on loan to Celtic from Spurs, which I was actually really surprised about, because I think Anna's slide tackles, honestly, are incredible. Like, I've actually said to her, like, mate, how do you do it? I really rate her as a player, and I thought she was great for Spurs and at Spurs, so that was a big shock for me. I think she'll get a lot of playing time over at Celtic though, so it's a positive for her. You've obviously got the likes of Ocean coming from Watford up to Chef, and I've seen she's always already been in like a few teams of the week, teams of the month, sorry. So today her Football Hub dropped theirs. She was in it, which is great to see that she's getting recognised already. It's exciting what's happening, and it's good to see some of the girls coming through the national leagues going up to like the championship, etc. I think that's always good to see. But yeah, the Anna Philby one today is definitely my standout. And I'm gonna get the name wrong, the pronunciation. So
Oh,
please,
we get them wrong all the time. Don't worry.
Jack. She was at West Ham, Australian Jack.
Jacinta.
Yeah, I knew I was gonna get it wrong. I didn't want to say it wrong.
I'm not going for the second name because that is just can't.
But she's also gone to Celtic as well, that I've seen today. So Celtic are definitely making some moves, and they're stepping it up, which will be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think also for me, like Spurs, like being able to tie down like the likes of like Alana Kennedy and Zadorsky to like permanent deals, like that's huge for them as well. Because obviously, for a lot of players that came over like last summer, you didn't know whether they were just obviously coming over because the American League was just sort of like a mini tournament for a couple of weeks. So they come over for like just their game time for like the 6 months, and then obviously their pre-season started yesterday. So you were like, oh, maybe they'll just go back in January and start like just stay with the same clubs. But the fact that they've been able to tie like all them down to like permanent deals, like long term as well. I think some of them are like 2-year deals as well. Is really good for like a Spurs who have really properly grown as a club and as a team in the last like 2-3 seasons. It's huge for them to see those players wanting to stay there. Obviously, if Alex Morgan would have stayed, that would have been amazing. I'm still gutted.
I would have liked to see her stay longer personally. Not only when you actually take away the layer of her being Alex Morgan and being a probably one of the most renowned football players for a long time, what she actually did for Spurs women as an individual and how she aided them, and I'm probably okay to say that everyone would have backed what she wanted to do, but her being able to aid, I'm not sure if she did it all herself, but aid the women going into the men's training ground and using those facilities is massive. And the club would 100% support that, i.e. the women's club and the girls themselves, they would want that because they want to be treated like professionals. Being able to have an impact with that in the women's game is massive for what she's done. And I think for me, my respect grew for her as an individual, and I was also told that she was just a lovely person, which again, you could be the best player in the world for me, but if I haven't had an experience or I don't know you, and wait, let me rephrase this. So I base my opinion on the players of how they treat me or what I see them do or how they are as people. So for me, if I've had an experience with you and I found that you're a really lovely person and I think you're a really nice person and a genuine, I will fully back you and support you all the way that I can, purely based on you being a nice person, because I respect that more than you being an incredible player but maybe not being the nicest of people. And it just makes me respect you more as an individual if I'm lucky enough to cross over with a lot of the girls, and on give or take every occasion they're all lovely, which makes me think I want to support you and I want to not help you but put you on my page or empower you or big you up or sort of make sure you're recognized for what you're doing, because you're not only a good player but you're a good person. I very much went off tangent there, I'm very aware, but
What about you, Amy? Was there anyone that you thought was like, oh, good signing?
I think I probably agree with Abby Dahlkemper, but then also, as much as it probably pains me to say, I think Everton have done quite well in pinning down a few people.
I don't know how I forgot the Jill Scott signing. That was...
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the Jill Scott one. Apparently a lot of people were expecting it. Completely hit me by surprise. So I was like, oh, okay. But it makes sense. Obviously, she wants to be in the squad for Team GB, so she needs that game time. So I think it's a very clever move from Everton to get her on loan and to bring in a little bit of extra backup.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and then Alicia Lerman as well. I've always rated her, to be honest. I thought obviously she didn't play. She used to play a lot more for West Ham when they first got into the WSL, when they first signed her, than she did in the last. In this season, I think she obviously hasn't been involved as much as she probably wanted to be. But I think it's a great signing for Everton. I think she's got so much more to prove as a WSL player. I think she's only 22, which I didn't realise.
Really?
Which is absolutely crazy. But I think she'll fit in there. She's got some good midfielders around her to feed her. She loves to run in behind, and I think that's great for Everton to do. And then also they obviously managed to keep Claire Emsley as well for, I think was it 12 or 18 months?
18 months it was, yeah.
I think so, yeah. Obviously I think it's from Orlando, isn't it? So they've been able to tie down some pretty key players, and Everton are looking really strong. I think they've got a real good sort of foundation, and they're building upon that. And since Willie Kirk came in, he's sort of led them. Obviously, a couple of seasons ago, they were near relegation, and it was Yeovil that got relegated because of all the funding situation. So it could have been a completely different story. But now he's cemented them as a sort of middle to top end of the table team. So I think they've done really well.
They've got players that are out injured
exactly,
little issues. So you've got the likes of like Poppy Patterson, who again a young, very very good player. With playing time, she's only going to get better. She's in the England setup. Great player, determined player as well, to always push herself and be better. The likes of Gabby George, who it's her birthday today, actually. But obviously,
happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Gabby. So you've got the likes of her, who's training, getting ready to come back. Jill Scott coming into the mix, consistent player.
Yeah.
I think she's going to do absolute wonders for them. Alicia Lehman coming in, ready to go, ready to get minutes. That's going to be great. Everton have, as you said, they're ones to watch.
Yeah. I've also just remembered one. Man United signing Maria Torres-Dottir. That's a good move as well. I completely forgot about that one. Pardon?
I'm not so happy you can say that name.
I pronounced her name absolutely brilliantly then.
Maria
Torres-Dottir.
I'm not even going to try.
And then obviously McManus going to Spurs as well on a loan. That was something I didn't see coming.
From West Ham.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's been, when you actually think about it, there's actually been quite a few switches across the WL squads.
West Ham have also loaned out a lot of their young players, a few of their young players.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think I'm aware of 4. So you've got Mia, who's a young player. Angie, who's a young player. Mia's gone to Bees on loan.
Yeah.
Angie's gone to Charlton. Cho's gone to Spurs.
Yeah.
Alicia's gone to Everton. So it's quite a bunch, and like I love seeing young players.
And obviously Rachel Daly went as well.
Rachel Daly went back. But West Ham have got some really good young players, so I was quite surprised that they've sent them out on loan. A couple of them. But it's obviously good for the likes of Charlton, who made quite a few signings. They obviously got Lexi, who came from Chelsea. They've got Angie on loan. They've got a few others coming through. So it would be interesting to see how Charlton come off on the second half of this season with all the signings that they've put in place, and hopefully they can build up the championship table too.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully, we win against them this weekend. After that, go for it.
Yeah, do what you like.
Yeah. Amazing.
And then do your thing.
Yeah. Just be really bad on the weekend. We need a bit of confidence, please. And then absolutely fly high after that. That's fine.
Let us score some goals, please.
Oh, if only. If only.
Be interesting. But yeah, that's everything on today's agenda. And Nancy, again, thank you for joining us. I can't believe it's the first one that we've done with you, but
I know, 118 podcasts it's taken us.
It would have been earlier, but my internet connection was bad.
Yeah.
Better late than ever. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Remember to like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel. Let us know what your thoughts in the comment section below. We'll be back with a load of post-match stuff on Sunday after the game versus Charlton, so keep an eye out for that. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you all very soon.